And good evening. New clues tonight, a potential major discovery, but the manhunt for the gunman who shot and killed UnitedHealthcare CEO now stretching into its third day. At this hour, the public still doesn't know the killer's identity, and now police believe he's left New York City, meaning he could be anywhere. But late today, a key piece of evidence may have been found. We're just learning that gray backpack has been located in Central Park. The NYPD had deployed drones, as you see a team here doing just that to help in the search. Police now working to find out if it's the same bag used by the suspected shooter. Also new today, authorities believe the person of interest you see here may have left the city through a busy bus terminal. Right now, police are tracing the suspect's steps and combing through security cam video, hoping it will help track him down. The targeted attack sending shockwaves across the entire industry. Medica, a Minnesota-based health insurer, shutting down its campus as a result of the murder. And healthcare provider Centene releasing this message. Quote, in the wake of the tragic loss of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, Centene's Investor Day will now be hosted virtually. A number of companies, including the ones you see right here, are now removing their leadership pages from their websites. We have a lot to get to tonight. NBC's Sam Brock starts off our coverage.
Even with a growing trove of images captured on camera connected to the brazen and targeted killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson Wednesday morning, tonight, no suspect has been named by the NYPD. And New York City's police commissioner Jessica Tisch said in an interview with CNN she believes the person of interest in the case has escaped Manhattan.
We have released the photo yesterday. We would appreciate you getting that photo out to your audience because we also have reason to believe that the person in question has left New York City.
Tisch telling CNN the NYPD has a massive camera canvas as well as a combination of fingerprints and DNA evidence. The department's chief of detectives, Joseph Kenny, said to CNN that surveillance video allowed them to track the shooter's whereabouts from the crime scene up to Central Park, where he traveled on a bike, exiting the park at West 77th Street.
Eventually, we have him on 86th Street and Columbus Avenue walking. He loses the bike. And then from there, we have him in a taxi cab, and the taxi cab takes him up to 178th Street and Broadway, which, as we know, is a Port Authority bus center. Those buses are interstate buses. That's why we believe he may have left New York City.
Those officials noting there is video of the man entering the station but not leaving, which is why police believe he was on a bus out of the city and that they don't know which bus he was on. One possible break in the case coming late today after police launched a drone search over Manhattan Central Park looking for the backpack worn by the shooter. A gray bag was located, according to two senior law enforcement officials. Investigators now looking to see if it is the bag used by the suspected shooter. Police officials hopeful that releasing this image of the person of interest, the only visual revealing his face, will lead to tips from those who know him. The snapshots coming from a hostel on Manhattan's Upper West Side, where, according to a senior law enforcement official, the man only took his mask down in order to flirt with an employee at the hostel's front desk. The images essential to NYPD's efforts to establish an identity through facial recognition to help solve a calculated murder that's also rattled an entire industry.
This is so unprecedented. It has really made a lot of executives very much on edge.
The insurance sector now making dramatic changes. Some leading companies taking profiles and information about their top executives off public websites, with CVS Health confirming they did just that. Insurance company Centene with a late pivot also moving its in-person investor conference scheduled for next week to virtual. Bertha Coombs is CNBC's senior healthcare reporter.
A number of companies are not wanting to talk about it, understandably, because they also don't want to exacerbate the conversation. But they are very much concerned, and they're very much concerned about the type of discussion that has been happening online.
Vitriol and frustration with the health insurance industry over denied claims spilling out on social media in the wake of Thompson's murder. Security and protection firms say across industries, executives and companies are calling for help.
This rocked the soul of the industry. It really did.
Matthew Dumpert runs Kroll's Enterprise Security Risk Management.
Our phones are ringing off the hook and our email inboxes are flooded with folks that we have a relationship with and those that are reaching out to establish a dialogue.
Sam Brock joins us live tonight from Midtown Manhattan. Sam, let's go back to the investigation and the manhunt. A lot of details tonight, a lot of new information. What more do we know about that backpack that's been found?
Yeah, certainly, Tom, you can understand why the backpack is of paramount importance. Two senior law enforcement officials maintain the fact right now that we do not know yet whether that gray backpack did in fact belong to the shooter or not, that it's being sent out to the lab for testing more than likely, and also that it wouldn't just be opened up and dumped out in the middle of the park when you consider what might be inside of it, whether that's a firearm or writings, computers, communications, anything along those lines, that you have fingerprints and DNA that could potentially be tested. They are going to be extremely delicate with that. Also, Tom, we're learning that the backpack was discovered somewhere near where the suspect fled on his bicycle. And you heard from the chief of detectives earlier that he was last spotted on 77th Street on the bike. And it wasn't until about 10 blocks later on 86th and Columbus that he had shed it. Where exactly in the park, we have not exactly pinpointed, but it does seem like somewhere in that region is where investigators may have uncovered that backpack.
All right, Sam Brock with a lot of new reporting tonight. Sam, we thank you for that. Joining us again tonight to break down these latest details is John Monahan. He's a retired captain with the New York Police Department and quickly becoming a good friend of Top Story. John, it's good to see you tonight. I want to start with something that may be a cliche, I don't know, but they say the first 48 are the most important hours in the investigation. 48 hours have come and gone. There is no suspect in custody. How much more difficult does that make it for the NYPD?
Well, a lot more difficult, especially now that he may have left town. It's the whole country to look for this guy. You know, there's a lot of ideas, a lot of avenues. The main thing, as you can see, when you see Joe Kenny give that press conference, let's catch this guy. All the other stuff, the peripheral stuff, who is he, you know, why did he do this, what's going on, let's catch him. And that's what they're working on. The backpack is going to help if it's his. Let's hope. You know, when they're done with if this is not his, and they've done their drone work over the park, the next thing is they've got to start dredging waterways.
Right.
There's 3 or 4 big waterways in that park.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's the backpack.
Let's talk about the map. You just mentioned the chief of detectives talking about the way he got out. I want to put up this map for our viewers here. So the dots in the middle there, they looked a little crunched up. That's because a lot of that stuff happened, you know, within blocks there in Midtown Manhattan, not too far from 30 Rock, where we are tonight. He gets into the park, goes up, jumps into a cab, heads to the Port Authority bus terminal. What does this tell you about his getaway?
You know, he has told us something about himself he doesn't realize. It starts with that alleyway. It's not an alleyway, it's a beautiful plaza, right? But that he thought to take that little circuitous route. The bike he jumped on was 1 straight block away, yet he went through that alleyway. And then he exits the park at 77th Street. His destination is 104th. He could have stayed in the park till 100th Street. He's doing these moves to throw off a tail. He's telling us something about himself. We need to listen to him. He went into that Port Authority bus terminal. Now, Joe Kenny was on that press conference saying there's video of him going in the terminal and no video of him coming out. Well, the New York City subway system runs right underneath that terminal. And there's a tunnel that goes from the bus terminal to the 175th Street and Broadway train station.
Yeah.
So he went in. Is he going in there to throw us off, to double back down to Port Authority? I know his guys are looking at that. Yeah. They're going to look at everything. And, if you know, he took a Greyhound into town, right? Right. There's only 3 cities Greyhound goes to from that bus terminal. Yeah. Philly, Boston, D.C. There's other bus companies in that terminal. But so he has told us what he does. He doubles back, he doubles back, he doubles back.
What does that tell you? What does that mean?
Well, it means that he went to the Port Authority bus terminal. Doesn't mean he took a bus out of there. Maybe he went in there, just like he went down the alleyway, just like he jumped out of the park at 77th. Maybe he went in there to double back down to Port Authority.
Takes a bike, takes a subway, takes a cab, takes a Greyhound bus. I mean, he's all over the place, right? Right. I mean, does this tell you that this was very well thought out, very well planned out?
He's put a lot of thought into it. He obviously put a lot of thought into this, right? And he is telling us something about himself, and we need to listen.
He's a young guy, though. Right, he looks like young. From that, they've confirmed that is the suspect with, you know, with the mask down inside the hostel. That might have been his only mistake that we know of so far. What does it tell you that a guy this young has been able? And I don't want to say outsmart, because the police could be outside his door right now. But you have the biggest police force in the world, and you have this guy who's seeming to have vanished in thin air. What does that tell you about this guy?
Well, first, let me say this. It's a city of 8 million people. And the island of Manhattan's probably got about 2 million people on it at any given moment.
Right.
Surveillance cameras is one thing. I know we're not relying on them entirely. Shoe leather is a big part of this. Where the camera tells you he was, now you got to get out there and start talking to the store clerks, the delivery men, the doormen, everybody in that neighborhood, particularly the people at the hostel, of course. So there's a lot of work that's been going on. I mean, think about it, Tom, that they found out about the hostel. They found out that he took the bike, got out of subject. That's a lot. You know what I mean? They are finding a lot. They haven't found him, but they are making progress.
Talking about things they found, let's talk about the potential backpack. This may be the backpack. But as you alluded to last night, he may also be dropping clues to throw off police. But in general, if this is the backpack, how big of a development is that?
Oh, it's big. It's very big. Now, he's been very, we'll say, smart, or at least he planned this out to this point. Would he have left anything in there of value to us? Unlikely. If he's just going to drop it, he didn't seem to be in a panic. Tom, we saw that video. He walked away from the man at first. So is he going to drop a backpack in the woods in Central Park that contains items that could identify him? I doubt it very much. So even if that is his, is it going to give us anything? Maybe DNA.
Do you think police know who they're looking for, or do you think they still don't know? I mean, would they release his name? Would they want the public to help in the search?
Here's how this would work. If we identify him, let's say right now they got his name. They're not going to say anything until they can find out if they know where he is and they can snatch him up. If they get to the point, let's say they have identified him, we're not going to.
But they did release his image. They did release his face.
Well, that's because they don't know who he is, and we need the public to help us. Right? So let's say they did ID him. They're not going to tell us that until they run out of ways of finding him. And when they get to the dead end and realize we can't put our hands on this guy, then they go public and say we have identified. So they'll be the news is going to break one way or the other. We've identified him. We need you to help us find him. Or we've identified him, and here he is. We got him.
The chief of detectives, the commissioner came out. They did that interview tonight, which is a big deal. Why do you think they went public with that interview?
Well, he got on that Port Authority bus terminal. We need the whole country to be looking for this guy now, not just people in Manhattan. We need, I mean, you know, I really think, I mean, Minnesota is connected to this. We understand Atlanta might be connected to this. Again,
and the Atlanta PD has been contacted as well. They're working and trying to help the NYPD. Let me ask you, now that he might be cross-country, he might be on a bus, does the FBI get involved, or is this still the NYPD's investigation?
They can help if they want. They have a lot of resources we could use. Sure, and we have joint task forces. We work closely with them all the time.
Before we go, I want to show you another piece of video we have that's come in today. It was him walking by some trash bags. He appears to either drop something or touch the trash bag or something. This is the video right here. Does this tell you anything? And I know it's random, but it looks like he's putting something by there. It's unclear what it is. Anything you can draw from that? Or
you know what? It's a very specific thing he's doing. He's not just throwing something away because you would just toss it. He may have been picking something up. I don't know what he was doing. You know who I feel sorry for? The cops have got to go out to the city dump now and find that bag of garbage because they're going to go look. Or they're going to go look for it. They'll find out what truck was assigned to that street, what day and time the pickup was, and they're going to go find that garbage can. And they'll sort through a mound until they find it. It's an odd act. I can't imagine what he was doing there.
John Monahan, I've loved talking to you. We're going to keep talking to you, I'm sure, in the days and weeks ahead until they catch this guy. Thank you tonight. Okay, now to another New York case that's captivated the country. The judge dismissing the top charge of manslaughter in the trial of Daniel Penny, the former Marine charged in the chokehold death of Subway performer Jordan Neely. NBC senior legal correspondent Laura Jarrett breaks down what happened in court today.
After days of deliberations tonight, a jury in Manhattan going home, deadlocked on the most serious charge facing Daniel Penny, accused of putting a fellow subway rider in a fatal chokehold last year. Late today, the judge dismissing a second-degree manslaughter charge, leaving jurors now to consider only criminally negligent homicide, which carries far less prison time. The case sparking fierce opinions and questions about race, mental illness, and public safety after this video spread widely, showing Penny, a white Marine veteran, putting Jordan Neely, who is black and homeless, in a chokehold for roughly 6 minutes as his body went limp. Witnesses described a harrowing subway ride last May. Neely, a former Michael Jackson impersonator with a history of mental illness, shouting and erratic that day.
I was sitting over there, I heard the young man that's on the floor saying, you know, hey, I'm willing to die, you know? I'll do anything. I'm willing to die. I'll go to jail.
The defense had tried to cast Penny as a protector, concerned for the safety of others, asking jurors, who would you want on the next train ride with you? Prosecutors argued Penny was reckless and went too far, holding on to Neely even after the train had stopped, and other passengers begged him to let go. telling jurors even though the defendant started out trying to do the right thing, as the chokehold progressed, the defendant knew that Jordan Neely was in great distress and dying, and he needlessly continued.
Laura Jarrett joins us tonight here on Top Story. So, Laura, explain this to our viewers, right, and even to me, because I'm a little confused. What's the difference between a charge of manslaughter and then the charge of criminally negligent homicide?
I think the jury was confused, too, because they asked to hear the law again and again and the evidence again and again. Best way to think about this is like a sliding scale of culpability, right? You think about intentional, premeditated murder on the one hand, and then criminally negligent homicide is really on the further end. So it's something lesser. The best way, if you think about something you didn't really understand the risk, but you probably should have known better, versus you really ignored a risk. That would be second-degree manslaughter. And so on that charge, that now goes away. They only get to consider the criminally negligent.
Is there prison time for a crime like that?
It could be up to 4 years, but the judge could also decide no prison time.
Up to 4 years. And then my last question before you go, could he be tried again since there was no verdict on the manslaughter?
Yeah, that we don't yet know about. And it could be interesting. The prosecutors could decide to dismiss this and not retry him again. But if they declare it just a full mistrial, then the prosecutors could try to bring him back for a second round.
All right, Laura Jarrett for us tonight. Laura, we thank you for that. Turning now to an NBC News exclusive interview with President-elect Donald Trump. Trump sitting down with our own Kristen Welker moments ago in his first network interview since being elected president. The wide-ranging sit-down taped just blocks away from here at New York City's Trump Tower. It airs this Sunday on Meet the Press. And here's some of what Trump had to say about his embattled nominee for Defense Secretary, Pete Hegseth, late today.
It looks like Pete is doing well now. I mean, people were a little bit concerned. He's a young guy with a tremendous track record, actually. He went to Princeton and went to Harvard. He was a good student at both, but he loves the military, and I think people are starting to see it. So we'll be working on his nomination along with a lot of others.
Since you bring him up, do you still have confidence in Pete Hegseth?
Yes, I do. I really do. He's a very smart guy. I've known him through Fox, but I've known him for a long time. And he's basically a military guy. I mean, every time I talk to him, all he wants to talk about is the military. He's a military guy.
Have you gotten assurances from senators that he's going to be confirmed? Do you think he can make it?
No. I think he will, yeah. I've had a lot of senators call me up saying he's fantastic.
You don't drink yourself.
No.
You've talked about how devastating drinking can be.
Yeah.
How concerned are you that the person who you picked for this top job at the Defense Department, at least according to those who've worked with him, has struggled with drinking?
But I've spoken to people that know him very well, and they say he does not have a drinking problem.
Fresh off that interview, Kristen Welker joins us live tonight on Top Story. Kristen, this looks like an amazing interview. Really great questions there. I do want to get your sense, though, on Pete Hegseth. Yeah. It sounds like he's standing the ground and he's going to support Pete Hegseth.
That was my takeaway, Tom. He was very definitive. He does have confidence in him. He did not hesitate when I asked him that question. And when I asked him about some of the allegations that are facing Pete Hegseth, he seemed to really downplay those and insisted that, look, the bottom line is he thinks he's got the right background. He is the type of person he's looking to lead the Defense Department. And when I pressed him on the fact that so many people who've worked with Pete Hegseth have said that they have noticed that he has struggled with alcohol, you heard the president there defend him and say, look, I've spoken to a lot of people. I think the fact that he has delved so deeply into trying to figure out what is the root of this problem underscores, you know, he is standing by him for now. I also thought it was notable, though, Tom, when I asked if he'd gotten assurances from senators.
That was interesting.
He said no.
Right.
He said no, he hasn't gotten assurances yet. No senators have come out and said outright no, they're not going to support him. But at the same time, he's not confident he's got the votes right now. He says he thinks he does, but he's not confident.
You covered President Trump when he was in the White House. You had that big interview when you launched Meet the Press, and now you talked to him here. What were your key takeaways from this interview?
I think one of my biggest takeaways, Tom, is that he believes he does have a mandate after having won the popular vote by 1.6%, after having swept the battleground states. And I asked him basically about how he sees his first 100 days in office. And he talked about some of the top agenda items that he's been talking about on the campaign trail, from tariffs to the border to other policies. And we delve into all of that with him. And I really try to pin him down on what we can expect over these next 4 years. His second term in office, by the way, he is the second president ever to win non-consecutive terms. The first was Grover Cleveland.
Did you get the sense that he feels he has that mandate?
I do get the sense that he feels as though he has that mandate, and he talked about the fact that he wants to get going on day one.
He's already
a lot
started,
of news, NBC News had reported that he does plan to enact a flurry of executive actions, and he confirmed, yes, that is the case.
Okay.
He plans to do that on everything from immigration, the border, to the economy, trying to lower prices. What does it look like, though? We know that executive actions can face a lot of legal challenges, and so we'll have to see how that
Okay, we look forward to that interview. Chris, so great to have you here tonight.
Great to be here.
It's a must-see exclusive, and of course, you can watch it this Sunday on Meet the Press. Okay, we turn now to Paris, where celebrations are set to kick off this weekend for the reopening of Notre Dame Cathedral after the devastating fire there in 2019. It's one of the places President-elect Trump is headed to now. But the event coming amidst political turmoil and growing calls for the French President Emmanuel Macron to step down. NBC's Kelly Kobiella on the last-minute preparations and the world leaders who are expected to attend.
In the heart of Paris, the cathedral people here call the soul of France is ready for its grand debut. 5 years ago, the world watched in horror as a raging fire consumed Notre Dame's roof, collapsing its iconic spire and plummeting debris into a monument full of national treasures.
I feel like Paris is crying now, not just me.
Nearly $1 billion later, and years of careful work from craftsmen and women, the country's national symbol is reborn. Artisans from around the world, including Hank Silver from New England, jumping in to help.
Being on site and seeing all the different groups of craftspeople gathered together, working together for the same goal, that was really an incredible thing to see.
But the anticipated moment of pride overshadowed by months of political turmoil. As of tonight, the French government has no prime minister, no legislative majority, and no budget approved ahead of next year. Critics pointing to the country's president, Emmanuel Macron, whose prime minister, Michel Barnier, was forced to resign following a vote of no confidence that collapsed his fragile government. The event shocking the French people. Barnier's was the first government to fall apart since the 1960s.
It's a bloody mess. C'est la seule chose que je peux vous dire. It's quite sad.
I know that Macron is not very popular right now, but our concern is if we're Francophiles, which we are, that the option to Macron could be more right-wing with Marine Le Pen.
Now, calls for Macron to step down are growing and breathing new energy into pre-planned protests. One nurse saying, the fight is in the street and we need to mobilize all together, otherwise we will never win anything. President Macron pushing back in an address to the nation, refusing to step down and saying he will serve out his term through 2027. Now, with everything on the line, Notre Dame's reopening, a critical moment for Macron to seize. This weekend, he prepares to host a who's who of dignitaries and world leaders at the reopening, from Prince William to First Lady Jill Biden and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. But all eyes on incoming President Trump, who announced he would attend as well. One Parisian saying it's a bit early for him to conduct presidential visits. He's not even sworn in yet.
Kelly Kobiella joins us tonight from Paris. And Kelly, I want to pick up on that last point there, right? President-elect Trump and Macron have had somewhat of an interesting relationship over the years. We were hearing reports they will be meeting over the weekend ahead of the opening ceremony.
Yeah, that's right. And, you know, if you flash back to 2017, the very beginning of then President Trump's first term, President Macron really tried to woo then President Trump, inviting him here to Paris for the Bastille Day celebrations in the summer of 2017. There was a real, it seemed, friendship developing between the two. You might remember that very long handshake on Bastille Day between the two. But in the months that followed, the tone shifted quite a bit. President Trump at the time attacked President Macron for his idea to create a European army, also attacked him for France's push to place taxes on big tech giants like Google. But this year, We're seeing a shift yet again. President Macron was among the first to congratulate President-elect Trump after the election in November. And now this invitation, as well as back-to-back meetings with President-elect Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. Tom, no, it's not clear yet. There's been no announcement that President-elect Trump and the Ukrainian president might meet. Tom?
Okay, Kelly Cobier with a lot of news there as well. Kelly, we appreciate that. Still ahead tonight, the new health concern tied to milk. The alarming rise in bird flu cases being detected in dairy herds. The new warning to stop the virus from spreading. Plus, the cocaine cowboy just freed from prison. The notorious cartel leader finishing up his 25-year sentence. And TikTok a step closer to being banned in the USA. The decision from an appeals court today and what it could mean for millions of American users. Stay with us. Okay, we're back now with a big and new legal blow for TikTok. The mega popular video app losing its appeal over a law that could ban the platform in the U.S. next year. And now the fight could be headed to the Supreme Court. Here's NBC's Savannah Sellers.
Today, federal judges unanimously upholding a law that could ban TikTok in the U.S., citing national security concerns. The three-judge panel saying TikTok and its Chinese-owned parent company ByteDance have a demonstrated history of manipulating the content on their platforms, including at the direction of China, adding TikTok never squarely denies that it has ever manipulated content.
The TikTok ban is coming.
This decision, enforcing legislation that requires ByteDance to sell TikTok to an American owner by January 19th or face that ban, ricocheting across the app that 170 million Americans use.
Money, means of income, our small businesses are going to be affected by this.
The judges unmoved, writing TikTok's millions of users will need to find alternative media of communication. But TikTok vowing to fight, arguing the ban was based on inaccurate information and pinning hopes of a reversal on the Supreme Court taking up the case. Noting the court has an established historical record of protecting Americans' right to free speech, and we expect they will do just that.
We could see the court decide to take the case and put the ban on hold until they rule, likely in late spring or early summer of 2025.
Is there a world where Trump has a magic wand and can make this ban go away?
There's no magic wand here. This is law. If the Supreme Court upholds it and says that this does not violate the First Amendment and that it is constitutional, there's not many options left for Trump. This is not an executive order that he can just reverse on day one.
Savannah Sellers, NBC News.
For more on this ban and what could come next for TikTok and its users, I'm joined tonight by our good friend, NBC News legal analyst Angela Senadella. She's also the lawyer Angela on TikTok with nearly 2 million followers. I know you're going to be sort of our legal analyst on this, but you're connected to TikTok as well, so you have sort of inside knowledge on this. Are you surprised by this decision, and will this end up in the Supreme Court?
So I do think it will end up in the Supreme Court. I'm surprised by the unanimity. Like, this decision was very strong, and they even went even harder than was required. They said even if we applied the highest standard, strict scrutiny, which is not even what is being requested here by the government, that we still think that this act survives because the government interest here of national security is so strong. And yes, I do think it's perfectly ripe for the Supreme Court.
Okay, I'm going to jump ahead here in my questions because we were talking during Savannah's story. You think Donald Trump's going to get involved? He has said he doesn't want TikTok to be banned. But what can he do?
Okay, so I combed through this appellate court decision, and what's really struck out at me is that many times they say they defer to the executive judgment on what is a national security threat. So in this decision, they talk a lot about both Biden and Trump having discussed TikTok as a national security threat. So let's say the Supreme Court decides to take this on, now puts the ban on hold, and then decides to hear it during the next Trump administration, which I think is the most likely path forward. Well, then, if Trump and his team come forth and say, as the executive agency, they believe TikTok is not a national security threat, the court has to listen to that. The Supreme Court has said they defer to the executive branch on that.
But what if the Supreme Court doesn't pick this up? TikTok is dead in the water if they don't sell. You've worked in the tech industry. This deadline is literally around the corner. Will TikTok be able to find a buyer?
I mean, that's rough. I think it could be unlikely. A buyer that would pass, again, the scrutiny, right? They can't just find any buyer. So, yeah, I think it's possible, but we don't know.
And if it was banned, how would that even work?
So the ban here is very specific. It's not that TikTok is even banned. It's that these U.S. companies can't actually distribute or maintain it. So it's saying that internet service providers cannot provide service.
So you wouldn't get access to it on your phone.
Exactly. And they're saying that Google and Apple and these stores would just not be able to sell it. But it's not that even the app on your phone would just go away tomorrow.
Okay, this is super complicated. We're going to be following every step of the way. Angela, great to have you tonight on this. When we come back, President Biden considering preemptive pardons. You heard me right. Biden weighing in if he will grant clemency to officials who could be targeted by President-elect Trump. The name's already being floated. Stay with us. We're back now with Top Stories news feed. Rebels in Syria capturing a second major city this week. The Syrian military said yesterday that they are withdrawing from Hama in central Syria, a city that rebels have never controlled since the start of the conflict in 2011. Hama is just north of the country's third largest city, Homs, I should say, and the loss deals a massive blow to President Bashar al-Assad's regime. Back at home, a Colombian drug lord released this week from a Miami prison after serving 25 years in prison. Fabio Ochoa Vasquez was a key drug lord for the Medellin cocaine cartel in the 70s and 80s. Ochoa and his brothers amassing billions, even making the Forbes billionaires list in 1987. He's also portrayed in hit shows like Narcos and Griselda. He will be deported back to Colombia following his release. NBC News is reporting tonight that President Biden is considering preemptive pardons to protect critics. President-elect Trump has threatened with retribution. Rumored recipients include Senator-elect Adam Schiff, who Trump said should be arrested for treason, and former Congresswoman Liz Cheney, who he suggested should face a firing squad for being a war hawk. Also under discussion, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who Trump called a disaster for his pandemic efforts. And yet another health scare. The Department of Agriculture ordering that all milk distributed in the U.S. is tested for bird flu. The USDA saying that any milk transporter or dairy processor has to collect and share milk samples. Bird flu is spreading through more than 700 dairy herds this year. The testing, which begins in 2 weeks, is designed to stop the spread between cows and prevent infection in humans. All right, now to a major advancement in weather technology. Google announcing its new AI model, GenCast, which it says can deliver faster, more accurate forecasts up to 15 days ahead. The company saying the model's forecasts of extreme weather like heat waves and strong winds can help officials save more lives and prevent damage. In one example, the AI model delivered highly accurate predictions of a typhoon in Japan back in 2019. For more on this new technology and what it could mean for how to track the weather, NBC News meteorologist Bill Cairns joins me now. So, Bill, we put up that graph, to someone like me, it's very confusing.
We can start there.
Walk us through what Google is sort of touting here.
Yeah, so what Google did is they actually went back and they gave 40 years of data to the AI, and then they said, okay, let's try to recreate storms we already know what happened to see how it does. So if we show that graphic again, it shows all the paths of the typhoon. So it first made the prediction on the far left. That was the 7-day forecast. And what actually happened was the red line. The 7-day forecast, it wasn't the best. But you'll notice that by day 5, it was actually narrowing down on where in Japan it was going to hit. By day 3, it was extremely narrow. And of course, the 1-day forecast is going to be more accurate. Now, this is kind of, in general, what would happen with our regular forecast that we give you nowadays on our computer models. But this one, they went and they showed this event, and they did many other events, Tom, and it was proven at 36 hours in advance, when it did its forecast versus the European model, which we always say is the most accurate, it was 97% better. So that was what the game changer was. And they're not just claiming this. It's all open sourced. We can all get into it. We can see it. I can actually see the published data online now. It's active.
But this essentially is competing with other models that are out there then. This is nothing revolutionary.
At first, you're like, oh, why am I needed? How is this completely changed? But the AI needs the initial input. It needs all the observations. It needs the satellites data that our government is providing. It takes all that and then puts it in. So it needs what's already in there for the infrastructure, and then it's trying to improve on it. And so right now, it's mostly going to be used as a tool. And Google's not first with this. I mean, I can show you that, there are other AI competitors out there. NVIDIA is doing this. Huawei is doing this. Google had one before this. So it's a competition. Weather is big money. It's important, think of the military applications, think of the agricultural. There are private equity firms that would pay a ton of money for a more accurate forecast than someone else because they can make a lot of money off of that.
But right now, the AI is not doing that at this point that we can say.
It's getting there. This is only 2 or 3 years. Right now, it's all considered experimental. Let me show you. I can go online right now, and I can show you the experimental AI forecast for Washington, D.C. Now, it's not going to look on your phone how you get your normal forecast. It shows me, in general, the next 7 days, how much rain, how much snow, how much precipitation. And I can look at that now, and I can compare it to what my normal sources. And that's where we're at right now. I'm not going to fully trust it. But when we get these next big events, the next hurricane season or the next big blizzard, that's when these AI models will be compared a lot to what we have now. And if they do better in those big, huge events or tornado outbreaks, that's when it's going to start. It's a trust thing.
Okay, but let me ask you this. Why do we still need Bill Cairns? Because I still trust in Bill Cairns, right?
Because we don't know how it's going to perform in all of these individual small events. Maybe it can tell you where the hurricane's going to head better, but can it actually tell you where that ice storm line is going to be? Can it actually tell you where the tornado is going to be? And once the tornado's on the ground, can it tell you where it's going? And
also in real time. A lot of what you guys are doing is in real time.
Correct. And these models are mostly out 6 to 12-hour increments. It's those gaps in betweens where we're trying to save lives. So I'm not worried about my job. I think we can all get a more accurate forecast. This will be better for all of us eventually.
Okay, great. Bill Cairns, love that, man. But we trust in you. We're glad you're still here. All right, that does it for us tonight. Thanks so much for watching Top Story. I'm Tom Llamas in New York. Stay right there. More news on the way.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.